Preparing for a SimCorp Dimension interview. You've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 15 key questions you're likely to face. For each question, you'll see a sample answer, followed by the key points to cover. Subscribe, like, and share, and drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. What is SimCorp Dimension, and why do investment firms use it? SimCorp Dimension is an integrated investment management platform covering front, middle, and back office processes. I think of it as a single environment for positions, trades, accounting, valuation, settlement, and reporting. Asset managers use it to reduce breaks between systems and maintain consistent books across portfolios. In an interview, I would stress that its value comes from workflow control, data integrity, and auditability, not just screen navigation. While answering, focus on what SimCorp Dimension is, the investment operations problems it solves, and why integrated front-to-back processing matters for asset managers, insurers, pension funds, and fund administrators. Question 2. What are the main modules or functional areas you would expect in SimCorp Dimension? The platform is modular, so I would not describe it as one monolithic accounting tool. Core areas include order and trade capture, instrument and counterparty data, position keeping, settlement, corporate actions, general ledger postings, NAV support, and reporting. Many firms also connect it to pricing vendors, custodians, data warehouses, and downstream regulatory tools. The key interview point is understanding how a change in one module can affect the full investment operations chain. Make sure to cover the major functional areas: portfolio management, trade processing, settlement, accounting, corporate actions, performance, risk, reporting, and interfaces. Emphasize that implementations vary by client and operating model. Question 3. How would you explain IBOR and ABOR in a SimCorp Dimension environment? IBOR is the operational investment book used for timely positions, exposures, and decision-making, while ABOR is the accounting book used for official valuation and financial records. In SimCorp Dimension, I would expect trade events, cash movements, accruals, and corporate actions to feed both views, but with different timing and accounting rules. A strong answer explains that reconciliation between IBOR and ABOR is critical, because portfolio managers need speed, while accountants need accuracy and control. In your answer, talk about the difference between the investment book of record and the accounting book of record. Timing differences, position accuracy, accounting entries, reconciliation, and why each book serves different stakeholders. Question 4. Why is static data so important in SimCorp Dimension? Static data drives almost every downstream calculation in SimCorp Dimension. If a bond has the wrong coupon, maturity, day count convention, or issuer classification, pricing, accruals, risk, compliance, and accounting entries can all be wrong. My approach is to validate golden source feeds, mandatory fields, exception queues, and approval workflows before blaming transaction processing. Good static data control prevents recurring breaks, rather than fixing the same symptom every valuation cycle. Be sure to mention instrument master data, counterparties, portfolios, calendars, currencies, identifiers, coupon terms, and classification fields. Link bad static data to downstream pricing, accounting, settlement, compliance, and reporting errors. Question 5. Walk me through the trade lifecycle in SimCorp Dimension from capture to reporting. A typical trade starts with capture or import, then validation against instrument, portfolio, counterparty, and compliance data. Once accepted, it creates position and cash effects, settlement instructions, accounting entries, and reporting records. In SimCorp Dimension, I would trace the event from trade date through settlement date, including amendments, cancellations, and confirmations. Interviewers like hearing that I check both business status and accounting impact, because an operationally settled trade can still have posting issues. While answering, walk through trade capture, validation enrichment, position update, settlement instruction, accounting generation, confirmation, and reporting. Show that you understand both trade date and settlement date impacts. Question 6. How are corporate actions typically handled in SimCorp Dimension? For corporate actions, I first distinguish mandatory events like splits, coupons, and redemptions from voluntary events like tender offers. In SimCorp Dimension, the challenge is ensuring event terms, elections, entitlement positions, tax treatment, and accounting postings are aligned. If a stock split is processed incorrectly, positions, prices, cost, and performance can be distorted. I would explain the need for maker-checker controls, custodian reconciliation, and post-event position validation. Make sure to cover mandatory versus voluntary events, entitlements, elections, tax, custodian confirmation, position changes, cash movements, and accounting treatment. Emphasize controls because corporate action mistakes can materially distort NAV. Question 7. What controls would you apply around valuation and pricing in SimCorp Dimension? Valuation in SimCorp Dimension depends on clean instrument setup, correct pricing hierarchy, market data feeds, and valuation rules. For listed equities, pricing may be straightforward. For bonds or derivatives, yield curves, spreads, accrued interest, and model assumptions matter. I would investigate missing prices, stale prices, outliers, and tolerance breaches before final NAV or reporting. The business reason is simple. Bad valuation flows directly into profit and loss, client reporting, and regulatory disclosures. In your answer, focus on pricing sources, market data feeds, valuation hierarchy, stale price checks, tolerance thresholds, accrued interest, FX rates, and how valuation errors flow into profit and loss and NAV. Question 8. How do accounting rules and postings work conceptually in SimCorp Dimension? I would explain accounting rules as the engine that converts investment events into ledger impact. A buy trade may generate asset, cash payable, fee, and possibly FX entries, depending on the portfolio's accounting basis. In SimCorp Dimension, configuration determines accounts, posting logic, valuation treatment, amortization, and realized or unrealized gain recognition. The practical answer is that users must understand both accounting policy and system setup, because configuration errors create financial statement errors. Be sure to mention chart of accounts, posting rules, accounting events, amortization, realized and unrealized gains, multi-generally accepted accounting principles needs, and why configuration must match the client's accounting policy. Question 9. If a position reconciliation break appears between SimCorp Dimension and the custodian, how would you investigate it? If positions do not reconcile, I would avoid jumping straight to manual adjustment. I would compare trade date and settlement date positions, check pending trades, corporate actions, cancellations, duplicate imports, security identifiers, and custodian timing. In SimCorp Dimension, I would also review interface logs and exception reports to see whether the issue is upstream data, processing, or reporting. The goal is root cause resolution with evidence, not simply forcing the numbers to match. While answering, describe a structured break investigation. Scope the issue, compare custodian and system positions, review trades, corporate actions, interfaces, identifiers, timing, and document root cause before adjustment. Question 10. How does SimCorp Dimension support the NAV calculation process? In a fund accounting context, SimCorp Dimension supports NAV by bringing together trades, positions, prices, income accruals, expenses, FX rates, corporate actions, and ledger balances. I would describe NAV as assets minus liabilities divided by shares or units, but the interview focus should be controls. Before releasing NAV, I would check price exceptions, cash breaks, corporate action completeness, profit and loss reasonability, fee accruals, and sign-off workflow. Make sure to cover the NAV building blocks, positions, prices, cash, income accruals, expenses, FX, liabilities, units, and controls before release. Tie SimCorp processing to fund accounting output. Question 11. What types of interfaces are common in a SimCorp Dimension setup? Interfaces are often where SimCorp projects succeed or fail. The platform may receive trades from order systems, prices from vendors, FX rates from market data providers, and statements from custodians, then send accounting, risk, or reporting outputs downstream. I would discuss file formats, scheduling, validation, rejects, acknowledgements, and monitoring. A strong candidate shows they can read an error, identify whether it is data or mapping, and coordinate with technology and operations. In your answer, talk about inbound and outbound interfaces, vendor feeds, custodians, order systems, data warehouses, scheduling, mapping, rejects, acknowledgements, and monitoring because integration knowledge is heavily tested. Question 12. What would you check if an end-of-day batch job fails in SimCorp Dimension? End-of-day processing is where many dependencies become visible. In SimCorp Dimension, batch jobs may import market data, process trades, calculate accruals, run valuations, generate accounting entries, reconcile balances, and create reports. If a job fails, I would check logs, prerequisites, data availability, and downstream impact before rerunning. I would also communicate status clearly, because missed batches can delay NAV, client reporting, and regulatory deadlines materially. Be sure to mention job dependencies, prerequisites, logs, reruns, market data availability, accounting runs, valuation steps, downstream reports, and communication when end-of-day or month-end processing fails. Question 13. How would you approach derivatives processing in SimCorp Dimension? Derivatives require extra care because the economics are not always obvious from the trade notional. In SimCorp Dimension, I would expect configuration for contract terms, underlying assets, reset dates, margin, collateral, valuation curves, and accounting treatment. For a swap, daily valuation changes affect unrealized profits and losses, while cash flows affect settlement and realized results. The interview angle is demonstrating that I understand product behavior before relying on system output. While answering, focus on product terms, valuation models, cash flows, margin, collateral, resets, curves, and accounting treatment. Demonstrate that derivatives require both instrument knowledge and system configuration awareness. Question 14. In a SimCorp Dimension implementation or migration project, what testing would you prioritize? For implementation or migration, I would focus on proving that SimCorp Dimension produces complete and accurate results versus the legacy system. Testing should cover static data, opening positions, historical transactions, accounting balances, pricing, corporate actions, interfaces, and reports. I like using parallel runs, sample portfolios, edge cases, and agreed tolerances. The best answer also mentions sign-off, defect prioritization, user training, and cutover planning, because migration is operational change, not only technology. Make sure to cover requirements gathering, data conversion, parallel runs, reconciliation, test scripts, edge cases, defect management, user acceptance testing, sign-off, training, and cutover planning. Question 15. How would you handle a critical production issue in SimCorp Dimension close to a NAV or reporting deadline? I would first assess severity, which portfolios, valuation date, users, reports, and deadlines are affected. Then I would stop further propagation if needed, review SimCorp logs and recent changes, compare source data, and involve the right operations, accounting, and technology owners. I would document the issue, workaround, approvals, and root cause. In production support, interviewers want calm prioritization, not heroic guessing under pressure every time. In your answer, show a production support mindset. Assess impact, protect deadlines, check logs, isolate upstream versus system issues, communicate clearly, document workaround, obtain approvals, and perform root cause remediation. If you are still with us, congratulations, you are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.